Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a piece of news that you have linked me a few days ago. This article right here, this is a Korean website, I just have it translated. And you guys linked it and asked me what do I think about it, is it legitimate or not. So let's take a quick look on what it says. Basically TLDR, if you don't have time to watch this video until the end, Lost Ark is not coming out in the West in 2020. So this article says. This article was posted about 2 weeks ago at the moment of my recording, and it says here, I'm just gonna skip to the cool part. However, overseas expansion is slow. This is because localization of voices and subtitles in the game is being translated into local languages. So far, so good. This is pretty legitimate. Lost Ark is an extremely puffy game that has a lot of things to translate. For a new MMORPG, not one that has had 9 or 10 years of patches, it has tremendously many items and little things in it that needs to be translated. So it's pretty legitimate that it takes about a year to translate into a specific language. The service is currently in Russia. Russia has Lost Ark available. If you want to know how to play Lost Ark, I have a great video in the description below telling you how to play it in Russia. A great idea to play it also. It started official service in December following OBT in October this year. We are also preparing to enter Japan, but the service period is flexible, so that means they do not know exactly how long they're gonna take until they release Lost Ark in Japan. The company has been in the process of localization after signing a publishing contract with Japan's distributor Game One in July. So it seems to be a pattern of the devs from Smilegate, the owners of Lost Ark, a pattern that they sign a contract and only after that they start localizing the game. It happened in Russia, it happens, as we can see from this article, in Korea as well. So if they signed a partnership for Japan in July 2019, then that means we could possibly expect a release of Lost Ark in Japan somewhere around the same period this year in 2020. An IB industry official said the time required for localization varies from country to country, so Japan cannot guarantee that it will be a year like Russia, which implies that it can be more than a year, which implies that we might not see a Japanese launch this summer. We might see it in November 2020. Now, if we see this launch in Japan in November 2020 and only after that they're planning to get the game over to the West, then it's for sure gonna be 2021 at a bare minimum. Smilegate RPG is reported to have no plans for overseas expansion outside of Russia and Japan. Even if it succeeds in entering Japan, it will take time to move to the next stage, mobile game. Now this is pretty grim news coming from a pretty decent Korean news website. It's not the best one there, it's not the worst either, and it just left me a little bit speechless, to say the least, because I know that every single year that passes and Lost Ark is not out in the West, yet players are playing the game in Korea and then in Russia and then in Japan and then in Singapore or wherever they're playing. Every year the interest drops a little bit. Every year of this MMORPG not being released for us in the West is a year that gets other companies closer to releasing their MMORPGs, capturing their share of the market. We might actually have another Blade and Soul kind of game on our hands, where it was released in Korea, everyone knew everything about it, and then only like 3 or 4 years later it came to Europe and North America. And because of that, Blade and Soul was not a huge success, and it is still continuing not to be a huge success. It's just a game there that has a bunch of people who really like I don't know, this very precise martial arts PvP, and that's about it. I'm not saying that Blade and Soul is not a huge title right now in the West because of the way they've released it or when they've released it. It's mostly about how the game is. However, I will say that Lost Ark is not the most straightforward classical MMORPG, all-inclusive, let's all play Lost Ark. It's a niche game. It's a game for specific pair of eyes. It's a game for a specific pair of hands and a specific kind of brain that maybe ignores some shady aspects. It's not in the first place a wildly popular kinda way of doing MMORPGs. It has the camera, it has that gray cash shop, it has the progression system where if you fall behind you cannot play with your friends, and it has some things that appeal to specific players. And the more time it takes for this to be released, the fewer players will actually be interested in giving it a shot. As people are playing Lost Ark and as they have a lot of time to play Lost Ark, one, they have a lot of time to really understand if the game is for them or not for them. Many people, I've had many of you telling me, I've tried Lost Ark, great MMORPG, is just not something that is for me, not something that I see myself playing for the next few years. And that's perfectly fine. Not every lovely MMORPG has to be for everyone. As I've said before, it's a niche game for niche eyes and a niche kind of player. However, the second thing is that people get burned out. If you've played an MMORPG in a nice setting with a nice English patch, you can deposit some money there, you can feel involved, then you get to be burned out of that game if you've played it already for 2 years before it comes out in the West. Sure, some people, many people, are still gonna find that fire, that passion to start all over again and do things better and this time know what they're doing and get friends together in guilds, but some won't. And all of these little things combined, as it takes time for Lost Ark to come out in the West, means loss of players. A little bit of players because of this reason, a little bit because of that, a little bit because of this, and there you go. You have a release of what's supposed to be a brand new, nice, awesome, super hype MMORPG already kinda, I've played it, right? I've already played it for 2 years. Like myself, for example. This year, towards the end of it, I would have played Lost Ark actively for 2 years. Now when you play an MMORPG for 2 years, you play it for another 2 and then it's kind of 4 or 5 years in an MMORPG, that's pretty sufficient, right? Especially in these days. And I don't want that to happen to me also, and I don't want that to happen to other players, but it will the more time it takes to be released. So this was today's news, boys, to get off 2020 as a year with the left foot in Lost Ark. I'm not sure if this is legit because honestly I cannot trust any of these articles that I see online as being legitimate. I see these kinds of titles that also you guys linked me. By the way, super appreciated whenever you link me these news articles. I really love it, so thank you so much to those of you who do. Lost Ark Western release planned for 2020. I guess these guys from Free MMO Station, they work in Smilegate and they actually know and they can release these BSy titles that are just made here, so you can click on it and press OK, thanks, I understand your cookies button. That's all this is. All of the links in this article, because I've actually read it like an idiot I am, all of these links are just absolutely lead to nothing. Some links in that article lead to this website. So a second-hand news website links me to another third-hand news website, gamexguide.com. In which this guy is saying that he heard from some G-Star 2019 from the CEO of Smilegate, we will continue to rapidly expand into the global market after the launch in Japan. So this right here can be true or it can be not true, we don't really know, but this thing doesn't state any year per se. They're not saying that in 2020 they're gonna release the game in the West. Here they're just saying, if they're even saying this, they're saying that it's gonna come after Japan. After Japan can be 2021, can be 2022, or whenever it can be. As you saw in this article, there is another point of view which says it doesn't have to be in 2021. It doesn't have to only take 1 year from signing a partnership a deal with a publisher in the West to actually getting the game here. Also, another stupid ass thing is that this was posted on December 20th, 2019, so they didn't even really do their research when posting this, because this thing right here was posted on December 19th, 2019, so this was like 1 day before their thing. You would expect that when you have an MMO website dedicated to news, to MMO news, you would have the people posting these articles, double check, triple check when they post what else is out there, and also not to mention this bullshit clickbait title that is planned for 2020. A title I really appreciate is this one right here, for example, also linked by some of you in the comments, very appreciated. Lost Ark might be finally heading west and perhaps even to consoles. Super many thumbs up for this title. I would click this and read it, because this actually sounds like a real thing, that the guy wants to tell you some normal ass things, not like the other people. And he talks here about the job openings that happened last year at the end of 2019 with Smilegate, where they were looking for English speaking this and that, and because of that the author of the article is guessing that maybe the English speaking positions were opened because they wanted to, you know, push out the Western release in 2020. But he's not mentioning here any year, which is the exact reality that is happening right now. There is no year, because it's gonna be after the Japanese release, and the Japanese release doesn't have to take until July 2020. It can be in November, and then there's not gonna be any Western release in 2020. Sadly, very sadly, I wished these shitty ass articles would be true. I really wished, because I am as excited as you guys are for Lost Ark. I really love the game. How long am I gonna still be excited for it without having it in my hands, without playing it, without doing things seriously? I don't know. And I'm not gonna take the Russian version of Lost Ark seriously like some of you do. I mean, you cannot ever take seriously something that's not made for you. The English patch for the Russian version of Lost Ark might or might not be updated in 6 months, a year, 10 years from now. So you cannot really play Lost Ark seriously in Russia, and this is your main game because you don't know if Lost Ark is coming out in the West. I feel you, like right here in the corazon, but it's just not right to do that, and you should just look into other MMORPGs. If Lost Ark is not coming out in Europe or NA, just look somewhere else. Don't just play a game in a region that's not yours, depending and relying on some people updating the English patch for you. You're not gonna find eventually people to play with. You need to start speaking Russian, which is not a bad thing for your life in general, to learn another language, right? But would you do that for Lost Ark? Is Lost Ark that MMORPG that you need to find a Russian girl to marry, move to Russia, play in Russia, learn Russian? It's not really that kind of thing. Anyway, guys, I thank you so much for the articles, for the links. These were my opinions on this recent sad news, let's call it like that. I wish you lots of love in the meantime until my next video, which is just going to be in a couple of days from now. Until then, stay safe, take it easy, see you really soon.